your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. And I will make your name great. Lech lecha, and all shall praise your name. Lechila, to the place that I will show you. Lesimchat chayim, lesimchat chayim, lesimchat chayim, lechila. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechila. In the spirit of our ancient tradition, which unites and sanctifies the house of Israel in all lands and ages, we welcome the Sabbath by kindling these lights. And we hope that you'll all be kindling your lights wherever you are. And would you please rise? Push the wick up. From down. No, from down there. There we go. Tricks of the trade, hey Sonia? There we go. And we say together, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Please be seated. Happy is the people by whom the Sabbath is sanctified. Happy are those who rejoice in its blessing, for it comes with a message of God's abiding love, as one who brings good tidings and publishes peace.
Asher lo hayam v'hu asa u'yabesh yadav yatzaru bo'u nishachave v'nivra lifnei Adonai Hoseinu ki hu Eloheinu v'anachnu amarito V'tzon yado hayom im b'kolo tishma'u. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash, shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, shiru l'Adonai baruch hu shemo. Basru mihom Yeshuato Zapru v'goyim bechodo bechol ha'amim niflota ki gadol Adonai umhulal mehod no עושה עוד והדה לבנת עוז ותפארת במקדשו עבור לאדוני משפחות העמים עבור לאדוני כבוד ועוז עבור לאדוני כבוד שמו עבור לאדוני כבוד שמו השתחוו לאדוני בחדרת קודש הילו מפניו כל הארץ אמרו בגויים אדוני מלך אף תיכון תבל בעל תימות ידין העמים בהמש ההרים ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ ירם היה ומלואו יעלו סדק בכל אשר בו אז ירננו כל עצייה לפני אדוני כי גבעה לשפוט הארץ ישפוט תבל בצדק העמים באמונתו נאי 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 שירו לאדוני שיר חדש שירו לאדוני כל הארץ.
We turn on to page 91. Page 91.
לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת מקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת מקבלה שמעו וזכו בדיבורך השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם ותפארת ולתהילה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה כי מקום הברכה מראש מקדם נשוחה סוף מעשה במחשבה תהילה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי שתדברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמונה סגולה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה.
It's so wonderful to be experiencing all of our congregation through all of your messages. And it's also probably lucky that I can't see so many of you, because we've got a wonderful congregation in front of us, and there's quite a few tired eyes, I think, as well. Hopefully this service, even if we're feeling tired at the end of a school week maybe, or maybe just a long week of work, or maybe it's just been a long week for us, we hope that this service will bring some cheer and bring some life into our tired souls as well. Would you please rise?
Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Praise be the one to whom our praise is due. We praise the Eternal One, to whom our praise is due forever. Please be seated. And we continue together. We praise you, Eternal One, our God, Sovereign of the universe, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates, whose understanding changes times and seasons, and whose will sets the stars in their courses in the sky. You make day and night, rolling light away from darkness, and darkness from light. You make day pass and bring on the night, and separate day from night. You rule the hosts of heaven. We praise you, O God, whose word makes evening fall.
Ahavat olam beit Yisrael. Otanu lemadeta, al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shofenu, kumeinu nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei toratecha, u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed, ki hem hayenu. Ve'orech Yameinu, uvahen negei yoman v'layla, negei yoman v'layla. V'achavatcha al ta'asu, mimenu le'olamim. Baruch Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Would you please rise? Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Shem Kavod, Shem Kavod, Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol levavecha, u'v'chol nafshecha, u'v'chol mo'odecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi metzavacha hayom, al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha v'debarta bam, b'shivtecha b'veitecha, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וגשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Please be seated. All this we hold to be true and sure. You alone, eternal one, are our God, and we are, Israel, your people. You have freed us from oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly we accepted your rule, and then, full of joy, we sang together.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, נורא תהילות עושי פלא, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
השיבנו אדוני אלוהינו בשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ותקננו בעצה טובה מלפניך, והושיענו למען שמך, והגן בעדנו, והסר מעלינו אויב דבר, וחרב הרע ויגון, וחלק ממנו עוון ופשע, ובצל כנפיך תסירנו, כי אל שומרנו ומצילנו אתה, כי אל מלך חנון ורחום אתה, ושמות צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם.
ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורה סוכת שלום עלינו, ועל כל יושבי תבל. Please rise. אדוני שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומשיח ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הטל.
Mahakahayim behesed, Mahayeh metim barahamim rabim.
Somech noflim rofeh ho'alim umatir asurim umakayem emunato lishenei afar. Mi chamocha bagavurot umidomela melech memit umachayeh umatzmiach Yeshua.
ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים, Baruch ata Adonai, Machayeh hametim. You are holy, awesome is your name. We have no God but you. We praise you, Eternal One, the Holy God. Please be seated now, Sam.
Amru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
We continue. Our God and God of our ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts that we may serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Eternal One, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel who hallow your name be exalted by its peace. We praise you, O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu ba'amacha Yisrael, utfilatam ba'ahavat kabel, Uthil ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. Baruch ata Adonai, she'otzecha levadecha, b'yira na'avod. Modim anachnu lach, she'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu, le'olam va'ed. Tzur chayenu magei nishenu, ata hu l'dor v'ador. Nodeh lecha u'nesaper tehilatecha, al chayenu hamasurim biyadecha, va'al nishmotenu habakodot lach, va'al nisecha shebachol yom imanu, va'al niflotecha v'tovotecha, shebachol eitz erev v'voker v'tzochorayim. Baruch ata Adonai, hatov shimcha, v'lecha na'eh lechodot.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amha, Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amha, Tasim leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon, lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam V'tov b'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam Tasim Leolam.
Baruch atah Adonai, Osei HaShalom. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer.
Oseh Shalom b'romav, Hu ya'aseh Shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol bnei Adam. Oseh Shalom
b'romav, Hu ya'aseh Shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imaru. Amen.
It's normally Tammy who makes me laugh in the middle of a service when I see a comment from her, but she's here tonight, and unlike Judy Herman, she isn't messaging through the service, but just at the right time, when we got to Velohei Le'ah, up pops Rabbi Leah just to make me giggle. It's wonderful that we do have all of our Ark Synagogue rabbis here this evening, and Rabbi Dr. Andrew Goldstein, otherwise known as Dad, will be preaching this evening. And I don't know if you noticed, but I'm so chuffed. We ought to have a Shehechianu as well, because this is the first time, I believe, that student Rabbi Natalie is now joining us from Berlin, from Geiger College. So for you, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvot. No. Shechianu, v'kiyamanu, v'higianu, lazman hazeh. You see, no matter how many years of practice, you can still make mistakes. You're just not going to keep on smiling afterwards.
Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, that we sanctify us by doing so many mitzvot, and I don't know whether it's the highest mitzvah to actually become a rabbi. And we know that Natalie, who's been following our services from Dublin for so many years, is now in Berlin. We wish her luck in the future. I note that today is the yahrzeit of Edmund Flegenheimer. He was born in Switzerland in 1874 and died in Paris in 1963. As Wikipedia says, he was a French Jewish writer, thinker, novelist, essayist, and playwright of the 20th century. He wrote, and I noted, 9 books, 5 plays, 2 biographies, and was the librettist of 2 operas, Ernest Bloch's Macbeth and George Unesco's Oedipus. But I only knew him as Edmund Flegg. And I knew him just by one slim book, Why I Am a Jew. Finding the book tucked away on the top shelf of my study, I quickly reread it. It's only 62 pages long, and I was excited by every page. I could see why Wikipedia said he was a leading proponent of Judaism in the interwar years, and a Judaism that was typically French, secular and intellectual. And I felt his views chimed exactly with the position we liberal Jews find ourselves in at this moment of confusion and doubt about the future, especially for the Jewish world. He wrote the book in 1927, and it's in the form of a conversation he wished to have with a future grandchild, with the question, are you still Jewish, and why? Sadly, he was to have no grandchildren, as both of his sons were killed in the Second World War. The book starts with his upbringing. Let me read you a couple of paragraphs about that. He says, when I was a little child, I saw things which by my fault you will probably never see. My father was a just man according to the scriptures, and my mother was a smiling priestess at his hearth. Religion was at that time mingled with all aspects of our life, but so simply that I did not see it as religion. It seemed natural that my father should, in the morning, wrap himself in a shawl of white wool with black stripes, and should bind lengths of leather on his forearm and on his forehead and left arm, while he murmured words which were not words. I thought grace after meal as necessary as the meal itself, and I felt no surprise when on Friday evening my mother stretched forth her fingers over the Sabbath candles, which shone through them and made them transparent. Everything in the realm of food was governed by laws of hierarchy. One could not eat butter after meat, nor cut a chicken with a cheese knife, but there were two sets of utensils, one for meat and one for milk, and not to keep them distinct was a crime. But then he began to have doubts, not in belief in God, but somehow or other in the belief of his parents, though he always loved them and they him. He said, my critical sense was also stirring on Saturdays at school, and of course in France you had to go to school on a Saturday. On Saturdays at school I did no writing, that was forbidden. But at college my brothers, who were older than I, wrote on Saturdays just as on weekdays. Their studies required it. My father went to his office after synagogue on Saturdays, and he also wrote. His business required it. So it seemed then that the Sabbath rest was a serious matter only for the very young. And so he goes on. And then at his bar mitzvah, another turning point in his doubts about Judaism. And when at the age of 13 I made what a Christian would call my first communion, in the morning, facing the ark, I could chant in perfect tune the biblical text, no word of which I understood. And in the evening after the banquet, I could recite in a single breath the benediction, which was still Hebrew to me. But at night, when I was alone in my bed, face to face with the God who visited me, I asked myself confusingly if he really was the God of Israel. And so, in, if I may say, a typically French intellectual way, but in clear, simple, understandable language, after all, it was addressed to an unborn grandchild, he describes his investigation into an evaluation of Judaism and why his objections, one by one, are overcome. If you could get a hold of a copy, do read it. It's charming. And I reckon it's as confirming of being Jewish as ever. But let me end with his conclusion. It's maybe the most often repeated extract from the book. It's actually on page 190 of our Siddur Lev Chadash in the special theme entitled Jewish Identity. Let me read it to you. You probably know it. I am a Jew because the faith of Israel demands of me no abdication of the mind. I am a Jew because the faith of Israel requires of me all the devotion of my heart. I am a Jew because in every place where suffering weeps, the Jew weeps. I am a Jew because at every time when despair cries out, the Jew hopes. I am a Jew because the word of Israel is the oldest and the newest. I am a Jew because the promise of Israel is the universal promise. I am a Jew because for Israel the world is not yet completed. Human beings are completing it. I am a Jew because for Israel humanity is not created. Human beings are creating it. I am a Jew because above the nations and Israel, Israel places humanity and unity. I am a Jew because above humanity, image of the divine unity, Israel places the divine unity and its divinity. And by the way, the book was translated into English and published by Victor Gollancz in 1943. As Gollancz explains, in the scary times for being Jewish at the height of the Nazi tyranny, Jews needed their Jewish identity and conviction bolstering. Maybe the same applies 78 years later. But I'll end not with that thought, but with the two opening paragraphs of Flegg's conclusion. He said, I am a Jew because born of Israel and having lost her, I have felt her live again in me, more living than myself. I am a Jew because born of Israel and having regained her, I wish her to live after me, more living than in myself.
Thank you, and how wonderful to be together with rabbis of different generations, also bringing words perhaps lost to some, and maybe it's the first time you have heard words like that as well. May they inspire us all. We now turn to our concluding prayers, which you can find on page 520, page 520. And when you've found it, please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, la'tei gedula li'otzeh bereshit, asher sam chelkeinu li'ached et shemo, v'gor aleinu lahamlich malchuto.
אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש 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 ברוך הוא.
Who spread out the heavens and established the earth, whose glory fills the highest heavens, whose might extends throughout all space, who in truth is our sovereign, where there is none else. As it is written, know then this day and take it to heart. The eternal one is God in the heavens above and on the earth below. There is no other. Page 523. It is hard to feel serene when our world is not complete. when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone. Yet in the emptiness their passing leaves behind, we are not alone. For we have the companionship of the living, and even our loved ones who have died live on in our hearts. For what they were is part of what we have become. And on this Shabbat, we recall the yahrzeits remembered in our community of Alan Clifford, the husband of Denise, of Antonina and Leon Poderets, the parents of Nellie Kleins, of Dorothy Kemp, the mother of Jackie, Inga Badian, the mother of Alice and Lisa, of Jack Michelson, the father of Irene and Martin and grandfather to Martha, Joel Pincus, the father of Sharon Sutcliffe, Michelle Beeling, the sister of Linda Lassman, from Rosemary White, friend of Sharon Goldstein and benefactor of our community, Stanley Squires, father of Michelle and Lorraine, and Yetta Marks, the mother of Tony Harris. And I'm sure that you join me in the sadness of the news of the murder of Sir David Amis, MP, an attack that not only deprives a family of a vital life, but also attacks all of us through our democracy. We honor all of our loved ones best when we live as they would wish, responsibly and happily even in the shadow of our loss, and so draw closer to the source of life in whom every life finds meaning, purpose, and hope. As we say together, Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agalau v'zman kariv imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mavarach leolam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'a v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'tada v'talei v'talal shemei d'kudisha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Osei shalom bimramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'yal kol b'nei Adam, v'imru amen. Please be seated. We hope you will join us tomorrow morning in person or online, sending lots of messages to wish Annabelle Lewis Mazel Tov on the occasion of her bat mitzvah. We're delighted that we will have even another arrangement of musicians tomorrow morning as well. Thank you so much for all of the combinations that we bring. Every week something slightly different. But I know that you'll agree that it brings joy to our hearts to be able to sing along with them, as you do at home and as we do in the sanctuary. Also to say that the first session of a series on forgotten lives about female, inspirational females continues this coming Wednesday, where Rabbi Leah will be speaking about the first female rabbi, Regina Jonas. If you don't know anything about her and wish to be inspired, as you will be, then please do join her on Wednesday evening. We have a bat mitzvah tomorrow who has been studying Torah all year. We have the talk of the first female rabbi. We have a first service back with our student rabbi, Natalie, as well, all delighting in Torah. So let us conclude together.
Ha'ahenenu b'toratecha, v'dahabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha, v'yached levavenu le'achava u'lira et shemecha. Shalom levosh, v'lo nikalem, v'lo nikashem. Le'olam ba'ed.
Please rise. Yehi Adonai Eloheinu imanu, ka'asher haya im avotenu. Eternal God, be with us as you were with our ancestors. Enlighten us with your teaching. Make us faithful to your commandments and wholehearted in the love and awe of your name, that we shall never depart from it, in this generation or the next, or the one after that. And let us say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom to you all. Thank you, Carol, for popping in. Was it Carol? I can't remember the author just before. Edmund Flegg. And if you can't find a copy, I know we've got quite a few around the synagogue, so please let us know if you want to receive a copy. We're going to, our Zoom room is already open. Please do come in to make kiddush with those within the sanctuary as well. For those here, you get some challah to take with you outside. It was a bit of a rush job. Rabbi Leah wasn't here, who normally delivers it. So we had to take alternative action. And I hope that you'll join with us in a few moments as well to sing the blessings for Kiddush. As I said, tomorrow, a number of people this week have said, we weren't too sure to book in because we didn't want to deprive anybody of a seat. We've got enough seats, so please come whenever you want to. It's helpful to us when you book in, but equally, if you just find the mood on a morning or on a Friday evening, then please do just come on in and be with us as well to celebrate Shabbat. So let us all now toast as we come in. We've got Dad's fan club is here for sure. The Goldbergs are already with us. And in fact, Rabbi Leah, I hope we won't be jealous about the number of comments after Dad's sermon as well. He beat us hands down. Wonderful to join together with people. Hopefully, yes, people in the sanctuary will be able to see everybody. You can turn the camera around quickly, Aaron, and so that the people in Zoom can be able to see the people in the camp. You can wave to everybody now, joining together in congregation as well. It's wonderful to all be together. We've got David waving his bottle of, is that Kiddush wine or is it just nicer wine than that? Yeah, it's nicer wine than that. Ellie, we hope that you overcame your computer problems to be able to celebrate with us. We've got Lou and Ollie and Pip and Mark and Jutta. It's wonderful. And Carol and Michael nearer around the corner. Ollie, it's lovely to see your face as well. It really is. So let us say together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafin l'chaim. And I'll have my sip in a second. And Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. I will be back with you in Zoom in for a few moments' time. Shabbat Shalom to everybody on our live stream. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning.